I finally came to the conclusion, aha, first, scientific theories have assumptions, and those assumptions are limited, and there's no scientific theory of everything. That's a a mic drop point
Yeah.
for a scientist. That's a real big hurdle to get over. There is no theory of everything. When you really grasp what that means, it's you have to stop and really take it in. Um, and it requires a balance. On the one hand, I think science is one of the best tools that humankind has, and it's a fantastic counterpoint to dogmatism. And dogmatism is horrific. It just
Yeah.
holds us back. On the other hand, science is so rigorous that it tells us that it can't be the final word, and that's incredible. And so I've slowly came to the point of view, and I should say slowly because what you're trained on as a child is something that's deeply ingrained in you, and at least in my case, it took years, decades, for me to be able to step back and get an objective view of what I'd been taught, what I believed before I was old enough to even be rational. These things are already
Yeah.
pre-programmed in you, right? So it's really a matter of looking at your programming and realizing it is just programming. It's not the truth. It's a big emotional as well as intellectual process. And where I am in the process right now is to say, um, I cannot let go enough of my
Mm.
preconceptions. What I've learned is anything that I think is true, back away from it. It really you have to step back. But what I and be prepared to be wrong. Try to be precise so that you can find out as quickly as possible what the limits of your ideas are. That's one of the key things. Be as precise as you can be so that others and yourself can figure out what are the limits of your ideas. Every idea has limits. Every idea has limits. No, and you might say, well, aha, there you've got an absolute. What's interesting is I'm saying that even my it's like Gödel's incompleteness theorem again.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah,
using
I was thinking that.
it's just that it's saying the mathematics is telling us I'm a beautiful tool. In fact, I'm so beautiful I can tell you my limits. So use this tool, but know that um, there are an infinite number of quote unquote theorems that I can't prove.
Yeah.
So use me to prove all. There is a big set of theorems I can prove, and there's an infinity that I can't. And that's sort of the perspective I have now, and that's where I then look at the various spiritual traditions, Eastern mystical traditions, very, very clearly. The Tao says the Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. But when I looked at Jesus and he uses the metanoia, the noeo
Yes.
word, that's also saying the same thing. Transcend the mind is what he's basically saying. Meta mind. Like metamorphosis is transformation of the body or transcending your previous, going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. You let go of the whole caterpillar thing, climbing on a little thing. You can only get a few feet off the ground if you climb up. Now you go to a butterfly that's in none of those limits. And that's what Jesus is really pointing. Metanoia is basically whatever your mind can do, you got to meta that. You got to go
Yeah.
beyond. So it's not the word repent is a very, very poor English translation, because to us it means be very upset, be self-flagellating, and there's an angry God. It has nothing to do with that at all. It has entirely to do with let go of your preconceptions, your thoughts, your judgments of other people. Let go of all of it. Transcend your mind, and then you'll find that the kingdom of heaven. And by the way, that's not the kingdom of heaven, as Jesus said, is already inside you. It's not some place you go to. It's that space beyond all the caves, all of Plato's caves, anything that you can imagine. Beyond that is the kingdom of heaven, which is already within you. So it's not about. So the Eastern mystical traditions say this. Jesus says it, but we lose it in the translation, into English. But
Mhm.
Jesus was basically saying the same thing. Ultimately, let go of your Plato's cave of thoughts completely, and all of a sudden you will find that you're in the kingdom of heaven. It's not a place that you go to. It's something that's already in you. It's just hidden, shrouded by all your beliefs and thoughts. Let them all go, and there you will find the kingdom of heaven in you and in your neighbor. Everything that we were doing, all the math that we were doing, meant that we are creating everything that we see. There was a moment in which I realized this means everything that you've done, Don, all this mathematics means anything that you see in the world around you is your construct. And that hit me in the face so hard, because we tend to think that vision is just a camera. I'm taking the picture in. I'm just seeing what's there. And even though that feeling that we're just getting an objective picture of the world is so ingrained into us that even though I'd worked on computer vision myself for years, I hadn't let go of it. And but now we had all these theorems. It was like it was in my face, and something Bruce said just sort of made me realize, no, the math is telling me, Don, you create everything that you see. All the structure you see, it's not there until you put it there, Don. And that was so stunning. I literally had to sit down, because I went from an old kind of realist that says I'm just seeing reality as it is to I'm making all this up. There are constraints on how I make it up, but nevertheless, I'm making it up. So there was sort of a realist to idealist, a physicalist to idealist flip that, for me, happened immediately. So I'll just say that what you're pointing to is, if I'm saying this is a VR interface, then there must be some layer of software outside there that we can start to look at and look at the code. And absolutely. And in fact, I think there's an infinite number of layers. So what we can do, so this again gets to the idea that there is no scientific theory of everything, but it's going to be layer after layer after layer that we have to unpeel. So we can start. We can say, okay, we thought this space-time world is the final reality. Okay, it's not. It's just a VR headset. Can we begin to take our first steps as scientists, as people, outside of space-time? Literally outside of space-time. And now when I've said this at conferences, the scientific conferences, I won't mention anybody's name. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I'll say a very bright scientist at one point asked what in the world I could even be talking about. Right? It's just like space and time is the final reality. I mean, everything is inside space and time. What could you possibly be meaning, Don, about talking about getting a theory of science outside of space time? I've had that from brilliant scientists. And so I completely understand this is like space-time is everything. So what are you even talking about? We need to go outside of space-time. That is everything. Everything's in space-time. And what I'm saying is, no. This is the hard shift.
Yeah.
Space-time is a trivial little data structure inside you. Trivial compared to what you can do. This is nothing. It's a trivial headset inside of you. And we can begin to reverse engineer. We can get the first layers of software outside of space-time. Now, a very natural reaction at this point is to say, look, Hoffman's a cognitive scientist. He's not a physicist. He's no expert in space-time. Why should we listen to this guy? I mean, it's the high-energy theoretical physicists who are the experts in space-time and so forth. And I completely agree. They are the experts, and Hoffman is not. So what do the high-energy theoretical physicists say about space-time? And what's remarkable is this three-word phrase: space-time is doomed. That's a quote. Nima Arkani Hamed says this. David Gross has said this. Effectively, John Wheeler said this, that space-time is doomed. And the reason, so those scientists whose territory is space-time, they are the experts on space-time, are the ones that are saying space-time has had a good run and it's over. We need to find new a new layer of science outside of space-time. What is, and by the way, the European Research Council, the ERC, it's a big European funding agency, I guess like sort of the NSF, has I think it's a 10 million euro initiative for funding research on what are called positive geometries that these physicists are finding outside of space-time. So the good news, well, the bad news is space-time is doomed. The good news is these physicists have something to say about what's outside of space-time, literally outside of space-time. They're finding these positive geometries outside of space-time, and by the way, also beyond quantum theory. So the idea is that space-time is doomed, and so is quantum theory. Quantum theory is doomed. It cannot be fundamental. So the structures that they're finding, these positive geometries like the amplituhedron, associahedron, cosmological polytopes, and so forth, these are structures that don't care about locality. That's the key key property of space-time. And they don't care at all about unitarity, which is a key property of quantum mechanics. They don't care about any of those things. So when these physicists, so this is not a cognitive scientist stepping outside of space-time. These are high-energy theoretical physicists. They know what they're talking about.